Jesus girl. Jesus girl. Hey, it's the diary of a Jesus girl. Let the wings of the Spirit of the Lord just a swirl. You are in it, but you know you're not a part of this world. And for the swine, you should never cast your pearl. Yes, it's just the diary of a Jesus girl. The diary of a Jesus girl. Welcome to the Diary of a Jesus Girl podcast, where we discuss real-life issues of the committed Christian woman. This podcast will inspire you to love Jesus and impact lives like Jesus. And now it's time for your host, Crystal Day, award-winning author, speaker, and Christian coach.
So welcome to the Diary of a Jesus Girl podcast. And we are in the celebration mode of 2021. And of course, we know that we're not quite sure what this year would have in store, especially after 2020. But what we know is that God is not surprised by anything that would happen. And I couldn't think of a better guest to start our first official podcast for 2021, Miss Lucinda Cross. Lucinda, are you there? How are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. And of course, just honored to just be in a whole new year. God is good.
Yes. So listen. So today we're going to talk about the big ask, right? So she has an amazing book, but not just that. Here's why I know that she's the best person. One, she has been the vision activator. That I remember, and just I mentioned it to her. I met her a few years ago. At
2017,
2017,
right?
Her last conference, Activate. And I mean, it was just amazing. It was in New York. I'd went to do the day before, the Friday night. You had like a meet and greet, and she was just like coming and hugging everybody. Like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh my God, I've never met somebody so bubbly. and then the next morning, I mean, just the information, the speakers, the dynamic. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. It was really a blessing for me to just, the anointing that flowed in the evening when the prayer started to listen. I don't know. I'm excited. And my friend Antonique, she recently had a session with Lucinda, and she's like, Crystal. And I'm like, girl, I've been following her a long time. I have her booked for my podcast. So we are so excited. But just before we allow Lucinda to just share, I just want to our brief bio. Lucinda Cross is an entrepreneur, motivational superstar, best-selling author who tell it like it is. If you want inspiration, transparency, straight talk with business and personal development, definitely she's the girl to go. She's a certified business coach, TV lifestyle expert, the CEO of 2 companies, and listen, this woman is going to just knock your socks off. And I love that she said, a fun fact, I cry every time I watch Lion King.
When Mufasa starts to fall, yeah.
To fall on the kill. I'm like, so she has a fun side, but I believe that we want to start the year strong. How can we start 2020 strong? But before we get to that, on the Diary of a Jesus Girl, we always ask, Lucinda, tell us about you. Tell us your conversion story. I know some of it, I remember, just sharing about, prison and the whole works, but I don't want to share it. I want you to tell us about your story of how you came to Christ, what that journey has been like before we get into the big ask.
Yeah. So, my mother, raised in Baptist, raised in a Christian household. And, I was the kid that was in the back of the church who would get beat with the newspaper. Remember back in the days where other people could beat you? So I would get beat in the back because I'm over there just, imitating what was going on in the front of the church and the church nurses and stuff. My mother was a nurse in the church to the pastor, and they just was like, your daughter, your sons, I had 3 brothers. So we used to just be cutting up. But, I came to Christ at such a young age and understanding that Yeah. So I was saying that came to Christ at such a young age, and I used to watch the power of prayer through my mother, but I didn't know how serious it was until I went through my own trials and tribulations. And then I realized the power of prayer, the power of Jesus, and that name was to my growth and even to my sanity. So it started for me as a young age, but it really didn't hit until I was in my teen years. And I said, oh man, I need this person called Jesus. Where's Jesus? I need him now. And so it started with me just watching it as a young girl, but then realizing how, the word says train up a child, right? And so watching how it was my turn to be, to use what my mother taught us.
Okay, wow. So here's what, and I would love for you to just kind of share, because you mentioned, just your teenage years. Tell us, what was your background like growing up? You mentioned, going to church with your brothers and sisters and stuff. What was life like for Lucinda? And why we ask, because the truth is, like, honestly, if you follow her, like, she is a superstar. Like, she got contracts with BT. No, it is true. Like, contracts with BT, HGTV. You're like, listen, like, come on. So I really want to know, listeners, so you're from a normal background, Baptist, and then you are this now, and you are so always unapologetic about your faith too, so just kind of tell us how your upbringing and how you have become that woman that you are now.
Like I said, I'm the only girl out of 4, and as the mom number 2, and support my mother with my brothers. I was raised by my stepfather and my mother, so 2-parent household. My stepfather's, but the things female dominated. The women, my mom dominated the household. And so in watching that, my dad was more of the nurturer. My mother was more of the disciplinary. And so for me, we grew up poor. We really didn't know we was poor because everybody in our community had the same things that we had. But it was a struggle, and there was things that I wanted more of, but just didn't know how to get there. And, as we move forward in the story, I just decided as I got older, because all the women in my family, the thing was to go to college. Everybody has to go to college. All the women in my family have multiple degrees, business degrees, psychology degrees. And so my mother also had a double major in psychology. And so for me, that was the only thing left for me to do, was to also go to college and get multiple degrees as well, and get married, and then, just work at a job for 30 years and be unhappy. But in my journey, I wanted to change something, but I did it the wrong way. And as soon as I had received an opportunity to make some money, which was an illegal way, I said yes, because I wanted to see how can I help support my family that is struggling. Now I graduated out of high school. Now I'm going into college, and the college that I went to, no one looked like me. It felt very uncomfortable. And so now I'm realizing, okay, girl, you poor. You and your family is really, really struggling, because these kids are driving to school. They're swiping daddy's credit card. They're eating good. And here it is, I'm happy, just coming with my peanut butter and jelly sandwich in my bag and my juice. Uh-huh. And so when I was positioned, or when the naive moment for me to say yes to this so-called opportunity to make some money, I said yes without hesitation, and I said yes without fear. And like I share all the time, I had all the right tools, all the right mindset, but it was for the wrong opportunity. If I would have used those skills, I was going to school to be an entertainment lawyer, and didn't realize that in 6 months I would need a lawyer for myself. And that was a game changer, because after going after and chasing the money and trying to speed up success, yes, I did fit in, quote unquote, with my college kids, and I did look like the celebrity supporter in my community. But when it was time for the cops to come and the FBI to knock on my door, and here I am, 18, 19 years old, things got really real. And instead of me graduating like my peers from college, I'm getting out of federal prison and serving 4.5 years. And that was the game changer, because it's like, what happened? This is a good family, church going, hardworking, highly educated. How did this college girl get involved in this mess? And it was just me wanting to speed up the process of what God had laid out. And it was just something that just took a turn for the worse.
Listen, like, oh my God, like, so you, like, listeners, you know that I'm really ever out of words, right? So when I'm out of words, I'm, because at one, I'm trying to process, because you would have said your mom had 2 degrees, but yet still she was still poor and still struggling, and you would be in school trying to get this degree and pursuing, but could you probably tell us, what would have happened, why, even though, for example, she had degrees and stuff, why things weren't changing financially, and what you have learned now in terms of people just accomplishing degrees and stuff, and using that as the only way out financially. Any suggestions?
Yeah, she didn't set up investments. We didn't have financial literacy. We didn't understand as a family the importance of saving and budgeting. She was living from paycheck to paycheck and waiting for her moments, even with her degrees, to get a promotion on her job. The funny thing is, she got the degrees in an area in psychology. She wanted to always be a teacher. She always wanted to work in a school, but never ventured that way. And so she got the degrees to help assist her in leveling up in her job and get that promotion. But that didn't come till later on down the line. It didn't come till maybe 10 years later, with her trying to climb to the top as a Black woman working in the government, And so it was something that was discouraging for me at that time, because no, we didn't have investments. And I think that's key. We didn't sit down as a family and talk about the finances. We didn't talk about budgeting. We didn't talk about, how to get out of the projects. What is the plan for the family?
Wow.
And so without having those conversations as a whole, and 2 supportive household members to come together, there was no level of partnership. And because there was no level of partnership from my father's side, and my mother's holding the weight for everything for 4 children, it was tough. And I do believe that families need to come together, regardless of who's making more, to say, what is the plan for our children? What is the plan to get out of our situation? And what do we need to invest in so that our kids don't have to go through what we've gone through?
Listen, I think we could just close the podcast, because you already just taught us everything we know about financial literacy and the whole works, especially because I grew up similar like you, in the projects. Your parents instill that education is still the way out. You're working, but you're just not making ends meet. So that alone, and wow. So
they weren't my family. They weren't risk takers as well. So it was also like, I'm in a whole different field in entrepreneurship. And the reason why is because I was thinking about, sticking in and going to corporate America and getting a job. But I said, I'll do that for a period of time. And then I have to have some type of exit strategy, because I want to own my own destiny. I don't want to sit there for 40 years in the same job with the same paycheck, with the same people, and never growing and utilizing my God-given talents.
Yeah. So you mentioned, so now you're 18, you decided to take a wrong route, even though you knew better. But of course, obviously in your voice, you were destined to be a risk taker and a fake walker. But sometimes we use our gifts to make
yes.
And we would have spent 4 years in prison. What was life like there? What were some of the lessons that you learned? And just how did you bounce back from, okay, I made a mistake in life, but how am I going to proceed?
So life inside of prison, it was horrible. Being told what to do, when to do, how to do it. There's a lot of abuse from the authorities. There's a lot of pettiness just from people just living amongst each other for so long. And it was an eye opener for me because I had to learn even there the power of community, right? And and just listening to all the stories, the majority of the women who were locked up was because of somebody else, their boyfriend. So yeah, they may have had the mansions, and this is with the Fed. So the mansions, the minks, the cars, the this, the that, just by association, And so I would say 80% of the women that were there was because of affiliation or because of a man. And it to me, it was disheartening because there was no programs. So for men in prison, they have all types of programs for them to develop, right? And so for women, there's three programs that were there at the time. It was horticulture, and that's, I come from New York, so I'm not planting anything. There was nothing to plant at that time. Yeah. There was parenting. I didn't have kids at the time, so that I didn't benefit off of that. And then it was cosmetology, but they would only allow a certain amount of, you figure 50 people could take the cosmetology course, and there's over 2,000 inmates, 3,000 inmates. So you'll miss out on opportunities. But what I was able to do, and this is where the purpose stepped in out of prayer and meditation. My mother, like I said, psychology major, she was big on creative visualization, and now they call it vision boards. So what she would do is when we would get up in the mornings on the weekends, she would take us to do something crafty and creative. And she'd say, I want you guys to think beyond the projects. I want you guys to think beyond what you have. And I want you to be able to envision yourself doing this and being that, and write it down. And what does it look like? So she would always push us to tap in. And so when I was on the compound, I said, what can I do here? So I remember my mother showing us how to create these boards and these journals of having a bigger vision than where you are. And I started doing that on the compound. Started out with 3-4 people, women joining me. Now we have 10, 12 people joining. Now it's hundreds of women coming on the compound on the weekend to just work on their vision. And that's when, it was like, well, where's little New York? Where's the little young one? Because I was, grateful that I was supported by the older women who were there. So, no fights, no this, a lot of things that was happening to other people. I didn't have to deal with that. But, watching the women look at me as somebody that was motivating to them to create a vision. And these women are queen pins and murderers and you name it, to look at me as a vessel of hope. Just with us thinking about our dreams of what we're going to do when we get out, when some of us can get out. People were there for 20 years and had to create that vision. Some were there for 5 years, some were there for 10, and so for the time being, that's where this whole activation and vision board process started, right on the compound.
Listen,
in federal prison.
Listen, the Lord said he will work all things together for our good when we love him. Mm-hmm. And God has really just, so getting to know the big ass, because we have gotten, so we're envisioning, because as you speak, I'm envisioning, the young lady with the dreams, but, trying to get things quicker, and then, having to spend time, but also discovering, wow, I'm an encourager, I'm a motivator, that vision. So it's almost like I'm picturing getting that epiphany of, okay, so you come out of prison, what happened, and how I want you to fast forward a little bit. How are you who you are now?
Yes. So, after discovering all of that, now it's my turn to come home. I take my vision journals, my vision boards, and I bring them with me, go to the halfway house where I have to stay for less than a year before I can actually go home. And I said, I'm going to accomplish everything on this board. I did sign up for college, go back to college. It's for business and marketing. I did get a job. I did start to repair the relationship with my family. So the things I put on my board, I work towards. As I'm in the period of growing and building and discovering me and actually making changes in my life. And now my family is there to see, okay, she's not this black sheep anymore. I was the black sheep of the family. If anybody was going to do it, I was going to do it. And so they're watching and to see how I'm making this transition. I link up with a mentor years later as I'm working at my job. I'm still in school full time. Now I have my first child. I'm full-time mom, full-time school. And I link up with this mentor and I tell him, listen, I want to get into business. I'm attending business school. I'm doing marketing plans inside of the school. I started doing some activities and events inside the school because I told my business professor, I said, listen, I hear we're talking about all this business, but can we see some actual business owners and authors who are really doing it? And he was like, well, we've never done that. Well, Lucinda. So I started researching. And on the back of books back in the days, you would have the contact information for the authors and the business owners. And I would say, listen, can you come visit our school? And they would come visit the school and I would have them come in on the weekends, on the Saturday. So fast forward, that pushed me to now working with my mentor and following him for several years while I'm still working my business. And he's just showing me how to get into public speaking, how to write my first book, how to work with clients, how to do coaching and consulting, what it means to be a mentor. And I'm watching him get paid from all of these big companies. I'm watching him. He was on Oprah as one of the multimillionaires at a young age. So I'm watching him make all of these transitions. And I said, I'm next. I'm sitting right next to, and he was a believer and he went to church and he was a married man and he was faithful and he had a daughter, so I admired the fact that he balanced all of this. His wife was a doctor. And so I admired that. And I said, I want to build my family like this. This is a multi-millionaire Black man who is doing amazing work and pushing women. What if I'm the woman now pushing women? Instead of saying, oh, I can't deal with women because women have this issue and that issue. What if I transition that and say, we've all got some issues, right?
Yes.
And how about if I help you discover it? Maybe you won't be such a hater if I'm showing you that you have greatness in you as well. And watching him do that, right under him, the oil is dripping. Now it's my turn. And now I'm getting interviewed on TV to talk about how I'm balancing family life and business. And now I'm, talking on radios, and now I'm doing some speeches and presentations. And now I'm starting to get my name out there and leaning and gleaning from his relationships years down the line, those same relationships that they've watched me be a servant leader to him. They've opened up the doors for media for me.
Listen, I don't know if anybody has ever told you that every time you speak, you're spitting lessons. Like it's almost like you're sharing your testimony. But I'm gonna sum up some of the things. Definitely
right.
Sum up because I'm just hearing lessons. So tell us about the big ask, because again, I've heard a few interviews that you have shared. A lot of times as not just women, but I think particularly women, even as believers, even though God tells us to ask, the truth is sometimes we ask and it's like, okay, God has given us enough, so I won't ask anymore. Or, you don't want to ask anybody for help because you want to be known as this self-made. What it was going through your heart why you would be promoting us to ask for what we want going after, tell us.
Because one, and the book is for both men and women, and it's a methodology, it's a lifestyle. The big ask, seek, knock, right? God said ask, he said to seek, he said to knock, right? And so, we're just following principles that he's given us. I want to max out everything that God has for me with my name on it. I want everything that God has for me, and I want to just absorb it all, because when I'm no longer here, and God rest my mother's soul, she's not here, I've watched how many of her dreams are just gone because she didn't ask, because she was prideful, because she had the ego, because she wanted to show she was a strong Black woman who had it all together. But it didn't serve us as a family. And a lot of her dreams, desires, and God-given talents went with her in the grave. And so when I started to get into the book, I talked to my mentor and I said, what is the difference between men who ask and women? And he said, start interviewing some more men. And when I started talking to some other men, the way men think, they have no problem with asking. They have no problem with going for it. But when I started to ask women, they made excuses for not asking. They felt guilty for asking. They were tired of asking and people not showing up and doing what they said that they would do. So they just kind of shut themselves down. And a lot of women were just living in a space where let me just get what's given to me, where men live in a space of, let me go after what I want and desire, and pray that God lines my things up according to his will. And so I wanted to get something and write a book and create a process that'll push people to say, how do I prepare for the ask? Because some people are asking, it's like, you're not even prepared. You didn't even do any work. You don't even believe in yourself, which means you really don't even believe in the God that you serve, right? Because if you really believed in God, you would know that in every room that you walk in, there's a blessing with your name on it. You know that even within the no, there's still some goodness that's going to come out of this. You are being cultivated for something greater. And this book is a book for those who are givers, those who constantly are giving, but they never put themselves in a position to receive, and how to ask, and being okay with it, and shifting their mindset to say there's nothing wrong with it, and to open up their hands and their hearts to say, it is my time and it's my turn. And so it's 21 keys, and we go through different keys on how you can use this in your daily life. It's a book you pick up over and over again, and a book that you keep in your purse if you're walking to a meeting and say, let me get myself together.
Yeah. So I want you to share how did you get, give us, because as you said, a lot of women probably are like, oh, I'm not sure. So how did you develop that posture of humility to just, and boldness, of course, to ask for what you want, one, and probably you could share 2 keys with us, because it's the beginning of the year, and I'm going to leave the link to get the book. I'm getting the book already. I mean, my Amazon card, that's my Christmas gift to myself. My friend, she got it and she has just been ranting about it. So I know that it is very powerful. But so just kind of answer those and probably share 2 keys that you would say definitely would help us to unlock some of the things that God could have had in store for us for 2021.
So to ask for me, really, I had to get the boldness because I watched how the clients that I was working for become successful while I was back starving. I've watched how they were soaring and doing great things. I watched how the advice that I would share, I watched how the coaching that I would give, the marketing strategies I would provide was helping everyone else, and I wasn't utilizing my own gifts for my own life. And so when it came to the point where my lights were turned off, and now I have 2 children, my car is about to be towed, and I'm running from the repo man. I said, why am I helping to make millionaires and successful people, and I'm not making my own family successful? I'm repeating the cycle of what my mother has done. And that's when I said, it's time to start asking. I need to start asking for help. I need to start asking for direction. I need to start asking for contacts, relationships, bigger pay, stop, feeling like I'm not worthy to ask for a higher pay, knowing that I do good work. And so that helped me with 2 of the keys that are in the book that I really lean on is, 1, get your ASK together. So a lot of times you can ask someone, what do you want? And I wouldn't know what to say. And so I had to really get clear on what it is that I want and make sure that I reach for the highest top of what it is that I want. Getting my ass together to say, what is it that you really want at the top? Stop giving people the low ball. Oh, I just want to sell more books. Nope, that's not what you really want to do. What you really want to do is to get a book deal. What you really want to do is host these major events. What you really want to do is get on TV so that you can be exposed to millions, so that you can, and so it was really reaching higher for me. And that's one of the keys, is getting your ass together. The other one is to stay clear of ask holes, ASKHOLES. And what I mean by that, God says, do not cast your pearls among swine. So a lot of times we'll keep giving and giving and giving to someone who is an ask hole, and they never are the ones to plant the seed. And so you can't bear any fruit because you're constantly giving to someone who hasn't learned how to sow seeds. And then also sometimes I would be in a position where I'm the ask hole. Someone would give me a resource. Someone would give me a contact. Someone would give me access. And because of fear, I would procrastinate. And because of perfectionism, because I didn't want to make a mistake, I wouldn't get things done. And so I needed to stop being an ask hole myself. Stop asking if you're not going to work and do, and then stop giving when you know that the people that you're giving to is going to be in the same position to ask you again. They're not going to stop. They're going to want you to, they're going to ask you for more money. They're going to ask you to watch their kids again. They're going to keep asking. And then it's never really where they come to any growth, and it's just taking and depleting you. Time, money, all of that. And that's two keys. Get your ass together and be clear of ask holes.
Wow. Wow. So you mentioned, and I love the example that you said, that we don't ask for what we really, really want, because, sometimes we're feeling unworthy, undeserving, the whole insecurity, all of that. So, but yet still earlier you mentioned, you personally had made a decision that I want all that God is have in store for me. That's what I want. So how do you, and practically, I would love for you to share with us, how do we get the clarity to go after what we want, and what can we do for 2021 to really ensure that it's a year that we're going to show up for ourselves, so that we can really get all that God has in store?
Well, we have to show God that we are willing to do what we have with the little bit that he's given us, and utilize what the gifts that we have in our hand and be consistent with it. And the clarity comes then, the more you exercise what God has given you, what you already have, you'll see that you can grow from there. So one thing that I would say, especially this new year that we're in, is to stay consistent. I mean, whatever God has given you, don't look at what's working for somebody else and say, oh, well, let me do that. Or don't look at what someone else's image is and say, well, let me look like that. And what I had to realize, so that I don't stay in imposter syndrome, trying to grab blessings and be a part of things that are not ordained for me, and getting all mixed up. But if we are so confused and in everybody else's mix of what's going on Instagram, or what looks successful on Facebook, we will lose the essence of what we have, which is so rich. And God has given each of us a portion of the world, of people to work with, to support. And out of that portion, there's $1 million ideas, $1 million concepts, world changing. And so it's not just about money, but the more we're able to do, the more God is able to give us, and the more change we're able to make. And that's what's impactful, because if I don't move, then there's a little girl who's in college right now who may make a decision that can change 4, 5, 8 of her years in her life. If I don't do and ask for more and be consistent, then there's a single mother who will say that I can't do it, and she'll just rely on the government to provide for her. If I don't ask for more, if I don't reach for more, if I don't push past my own fears and doubts, and I want to sit and complain about who I have and don't have. I was a one-man show for 10 years before my business started flourishing, a one-man show. And so I had to stay consistent, because it was other things look so glamorous to hop into, but I didn't want to become a carbon copy of somebody else, when God created such a beautiful, authentic me with an amazing story and an amazing, whatever we've gone through, and to really step out and be consistent in that. And so I would say, one, the clarity comes from using what you already have that that works. Some of us are great communicators. Believe it or not, there's major great communicators out there now who are doing amazing work and impacting change, and their finances are great. I mean, they're flying private jets, all of that, whatever you want, from the materialistic side to the spiritual side. There's people who are, if you're a good listener, whatever you're great at, doing hair, we can't overlook. Look what God used with me: glitter, scissors, and glue. That took me to Walmart. It took me to BET. It made me great stages on Essence. It made me, and so I used to get tired. I'll be honest. I was like, I don't want to be known as the vision board lady. That's what everybody was calling me. Oh, that's the vision board lady, the vision board queen. And I was like, man, there's so much more to me. I have this degree in business and marketing, but what is wrong with the simple things? The things of God are so simple, we complicate them. And I want everybody this year to max out on the simple things and watch how God gives you a surplus That's what true abundance is about, is being able to take that small and stretch it to where you're like, oh my gosh, I can feed a nation now. And your nation is in your own household. I had to realize it wasn't important for me to grace stages to speak to. Before I used to say, I want to speak to thousands of people. I want stages of thousands of people. And I've done that. But before, I had to realize there's thousands of people within my own daughter and son. There's a whole generation. Why am I not talking to my daughter who's going to birth a generation? There's millions of generations within her that if I can talk to her and groom her, is that not thousands of people in one stage?
Yes. So much wisdom. So, and I want to just pause to just kind of plug some lessons that personally I want persons, if you haven't heard what she has said, I've heard it and I want to repeat. She started, and I love where she shared about the family, having a family financial plan and accepting that, okay, currently my family, we don't know how to manage money. We don't know how to budget, all of these things, but that's not an excuse for not doing it. So how can I spend time to learn so that I ensure that I'm, whatever you're spending, whatever money you need to make, that you'll be able to manage it in such a way that you're increasing, and you do that through investments, ensuring that you're partnering with the right person, having a vision even for your finances, and having a vision for your children and your children's life, even as the word has stated. That for me is a big takeaway. And secondly, she mentioned that she spent time, even though she didn't want to be known as vision board lady, she saw how sitting and visualizing, in prison. Okay, yes, I'm young. My life, I don't have to come out of prison and, just be considered as a statistic. I envisioned, she said she envisioned her life. She saw herself going back to college because she knew that she was bright enough, or she could put in the work. She saw that, okay, it's my responsibility to try to reconcile with my family and show them, that I'm changing, I'm doing better. My responsibility to just show up for myself and learn. So I want somebody to know that the power of visualizing and seeing not things as it is right now, but how can it be? How do I want it to be? Thirdly, just as she mentioned, a lot of times we can't ask because we have not stopped to, one, visualize, but two, we really don't want to admit what is it that we really want. So we have to stop and process. Why am I feeling inadequate? Why am I feeling so insecure? Why am I not feeling worthy? And deal with that, with the Lord through prayer, get counseling, get a coach, get the help so that you can realize that it's not really your worthiness, but it's Christ's worthiness that he has already said that you are deserving of. He says exceedingly abundantly. Why am I not believing this? No matter how your situation would have been like her, growing up poor, growing up wondering, okay, is this the life that I have to live? I'm in a job that I'm for years and being unhappy. No, you don't have to settle for that. And these are some powerful nuggets that I'm just taking away. The last one, just where she spoke of just being, just understanding that it's not just about being courageous, or trying to pump yourself up. Oh, I don't feel fear. No, it's about taking small action on where you're at right now. The word of God tells us in James that, show me your faith by your works. So many people are sitting in church and sitting in the pews. Lord, send me my breakthrough. Send me my breakthrough. But you can bake. You're a great baker, but you wouldn't want to start baking and selling your cakes, But God has given you everything in your hands to create the wealth already. But it's almost like you're saying, baking, no. But something as simple as her mom used a visualization process with her when they're young, and she was able to impact hundreds, thousands of inmates for something. For her, probably visualizing it was just a part of life. But for other women, they have never understand this concept. They have never been exposed to this concept. And she was able to say, okay, what came naturally to me is actually more than a blessing to someone else. So Lucinda, may I tell you, so you just, you know, say it, but you know, say it. You know, you're saying it. And I hope that someone that's listening. So I can't believe we're almost at the hour already, but, you know, I want you to kind of share, you know, just for, I know we have a lot of men and women that are listening, but I want you to talk to the women about that. Okay, so 2020 came in. I'm sure you would have had plans and, you know, things. And then, of course, COVID came. In the US, there was an election. Then you had, you know, the talks of a recession, and just so many things would have happened. How do you deal with setbacks? How do you deal with disappointments? How do you deal with? Because I'm sure somebody listening is like, she don't even understand. I've been asking this, and everybody has been saying no. How can you? What are some of the encouragement, or how would you encourage women that have just feel like that? Like, I'm tired of asking, you know, I just so much resilience, so much problems, you know, just talk to us about that.
Yeah, you know, 2020 was a year that, you know, God showed us that, you know, we have time. We need to take time to look at what we're doing, right? That's what I felt like. We needed to look at, who do we really believe? Are we worshiping more of the fear, or are we worshiping God? And a lot of people worship fear, worship poverty, worship doubt more than they worship having a little bit of faith. And so for me, when it comes to setbacks, of course, those things for me, I do not like rejection, right? I don't like it. Even with God, I'm like, come on, God, when you going to show up? Like, come on, you know, like I'm like, come on, please. I don't want to wait till the 11th hour, Father. But what I had to learn was that if I keep getting the rejection, maybe I'm not asking for the right thing. Maybe I'm not looking, because sometimes I would, and I'll talk to myself, talk personally, and maybe this will bless someone. I would look at how blessings would come, and I would miss the fact that the blessing, what I'm asking for, has been there all this time, because I'm expecting it to come from a new person or a new thing or a shiny red object, that I would miss out on the fact that the blessing has been there all this time. When I was looking to build my team for my business, I was like, man, I just can't find good help. I can't find good help, but not realizing my assistant, my mentees, and the people that I needed were the ones that was already doing the work. And so if, you know, it was like, wow, I'm looking in one direction, but I already have what I need right here. And I needed to shift, you know, what I was asking for. And so sometimes, you know, for me, just getting out of the rut and that mindset of saying, you know, gosh, I'm asking, I'm ready to give up and throw in the towel. You know, you don't have permission to throw in a towel if you have breath in your body. You don't have permission. The only thing you have permission to do is to keep pushing and trying and try again and see what works. And so, you know, we can't throw in the towel, because then that's just saying that we don't serve a God that knows what he's doing. God doesn't make any mistakes. And I truly believe that everything and timing is orchestrated by God. And so we have to just lean on that, but it doesn't mean that we stay stuck. And a lot of times we'll get to a point where if things are not going our way, or we're not getting the yes, we'll stay stuck instead of pushing. You know, I would watch people in, you know, I would watch people in church as I was growing up, and they just praying, but never making any changes. No faith in action. And it's like, wow, you know, so you're just a church believer. But when it's out of these walls, there's no action. You don't believe that God can do it and will do it, or already has done it. And so now it's just time to move. For those who know that they're getting a lot of rejection, move as if you got your yes already, and you'll see that you have it already.
Oh, wow. You know what I love with what you said? We don't have permission to give up. And I always say to people, give up and then what? Because the truth is, the average person is not going to give up and, you know, walk on the road and eat out a car, you know? Like,
right.
So why not? Like, we're not giving up. We just decide to settle. So it's the same energy to just keep going, keep pushing, keep going, right? Being persistent, even in setbacks, right? Stop, evaluate, as you said, okay, probably what I'm asking for, Lord, is it that you want bigger? Is it that I'm missing something? Is it that it's already here, but I'm not seeing the blessing, as I ought to? And just evaluating and just believing that God, as the Bible tells us that the steps of a good man is ordered by the Lord. So trust that your steps are being ordered. Wow. So I want to ask you 5 questions, 1 minute to answer. It's just almost like I want you to give advice for different persons. So firstly, I want you to speak to the teenage girl. What would you would have said to Lucinda, 16 years old, so that, somebody that's young that could listen right now?
What I would tell myself is the things that I was doing then for the people that didn't matter now, I would have just focused on what I needed to do for myself, not the friends, not the image. None of those people mattered. Not one of those people was supported me. No, not one of them that I spent money on was there when I got inside. Not one wrote a letter. Not one was there when I came home to celebrate me coming out. So what I would tell myself, that young girl, don't worry about other people, Lucinda. Don't worry about an image. Worry about who you're going to become. That's more important than who you're trying to be right now.
Wow. Wow. I want you to talk to the mother. The mother that sometimes feels like, okay, my only focus should be my kids. I can't pursue my dreams. How do I balance going after your big ass while still serving and showing up? And I love what you had said, sometimes we want to impact the millions and the outside, and how are we ensuring that we're teaching our children, and not just our children, because for those who don't have children, what about the people that are around you? Your church, the young people in your church, young people, somebody at work. Like, how am I ensuring that I'm also being a motivation for those who are around me? So I want you to kind of talk to that mom, specifically, that's, trying to navigate my big ass, but yet still, be a good mom.
Yes. Get your child a mentor. As parents, we don't know everything, and we may not be showing our children, who they are and what their true potential is. I would say we shouldn't have to wait till our kids get 30 or 40 to get linked with a mentor. Find a mentor that can help cultivate now, and then follow your dreams. Why stop? They're watching. What is the legacy is, you support your children, but God also has given life to create life and bear fruit beyond and to push, to create. And I mean, there's so many stories inside the Bible you see of mothers and women pushing their children. So you have to be that catalyst as well. Let them see you go after your dreams. Let them see you pursue higher education. Let them see you push past bad relationships so that they can make better decisions moving forward.
Powerful. For the entrepreneur, somebody that is, trying to start a business or started a business, and you mentioned that you were in business for a few years, you weren't seeing the money coming in, and just trying to struggle. And so I wanted to talk to probably that person that is struggling in their business or struggling to start a business. What are some of the tips, major tips that you want to give them?
Yes. So one, I do want to apologize because I know on this recording they may hear so much background noise. I'm traveling, but I would not miss this podcast for nothing. But what I would say to the entrepreneurs is that, your vision is so rich and so fruitful that you cannot give up. Stay focused. Find out ways that you can become more innovative, more creative. Take this one thing and write it out. I said, I'm not going to stop until I see 6 or 7 figures with this vision board process. If that means it being in stores, being on TV, I wanted to take this one thing and write it out before I started venturing into something else. So I would say, think about what can you create to add an experience to the business that you already have. If you bake good cakes, great. Can you create, your own recipe? Is there a sauce that you can have? Is there a special frosting that you could sell to put into the stores? Can you start cooking? Can you start teaching cooking lessons? Can you start creating some type of bakeware to put in the stores, owning your own bakeware? So think about what can you do to expand what you already have and what you're great at.
That is like, I'm so taking that for myself. I'm taking that one for myself. Second to last one. A lot of persons that are listening, they tend to want to speak because I'm a publisher, I'm a speaker, I'm an author and stuff. And a lot of the persons that listen are in that sphere of, I want to influence people. I want to empower people. And I want you to, but the biggest struggle is, how do I get more exposure? And probably I'm asking this even for myself too, because I'm grabbing this wisdom too. How is it that what are some of the things, or what kind of encouragement can you give in terms of building that brand and building that visibility? I remember you had gotten a contract with HDTV, BAT, like Essence, like these things, are dreams for many of us. But, and especially for me, living in the island in Jamaica, you're like sitting and like, is this even possible? How can I get that exposure?
It is, using our social media platforms to provide tips is key. Use your social media platform to talk about the how to teach, use your Instagram for inspiration, use your Facebook for teaching and training, and tag the media. That's all I did. I just started taking different media outlets, from these magazines to news to television. All of them have some type of social media platform. I would just tag them on the tips. An article about this in Entrepreneur Magazine. Hey, I do this, and this, and I would love to talk about how international business is going for us, how we're pushing past in COVID and internationally. And someone from the islands who is a publisher and an empowerment speaker, here's what I can add to let the U.S. know how we can do business together internationally, and the struggles and how to overcome for those who are dealing with international business. Hey, don't forget about us. We're still here. So come up with ways that you can use your own platform as a teaching model that helps to, one, push past the competition, but it lets the media know that she's someone who's informative. They want stories, and they're always looking for stories. They're looking for people who know what they're talking about. And when they go to your social media, they want to see. They want to see the same thing that you send an email. They want to see that tip or two.
Listen, if you guys are listening to this podcast, one, like Lucinda already just paint out your whole year to you. So here's what I want you to tell us. How can we work with you? Because you have dropped so much gem as a coach, as a speaker, in your books, in your conferences. Like, how can we work with you? Of course, we can buy a book, but is it that you take on clients one-on-one? Is it that, what is it that you can offer our listeners in terms of, okay, I believe I want her to speak into my life, whether as a mentor, as a coach?
So, one, I'm traveling, so I'm not afraid of, what's going on here. So if you want me to come speak, anything that they have going on, I'm there. But to work in terms of coaching, consulting, they can go to my website, lucindacross.com. I have group coaching that happens every quarter that they can be a part of. It's a part of my Activate Your Platform program. And then I have a membership that has different courses and trainings, from public speaking to getting media exposure to marketing your business to, so there's so many different courses inside that they can take on a month-to-month, no contracts, but they can go to lucindacross.com and find out more information about coaching, consulting, upcoming programs. Everything is there.
Nice. Listen, I know a lot of Jamaicans are listening, but a lot of Caribbean and a lot of persons internationally are listening to this podcast. You guys know that I only provide value. Like I'm always about helping to, and when I reached out to her and she said yes, I'm like, yes, because I personally have been just wanting to have a conversation with her, just because I've been exposed to her and her content, and I've listened every podcast that I think that she has been on, that she has shared. I go and listen, and it's always just an inspiration to know that it doesn't matter how your story have started. It doesn't matter what mistakes you would have made along the way. It doesn't matter, about the bumps along the road. Like, you can press into that purpose. You can continue to activate your vision. You can ask for big things, and knowing that you are deserving because of who you are as a child of God. So, Lucinda, as you close out, some Jesus girls that are listening, or Jesus men that are listening, as you're led in your spirit, you are our first guest for 2021. So you are the one that is releasing the blessing. You're the one that is releasing the prophetic word or anything that you feel. I want you to just be led to just share, to empower, to impact our listeners for 2021.
Something short and sweet, that I would say, that I personally feel is that, it's who are you and what do you care about most, and I think it's time for many of us to come out of hiding. I think a lot of us, we have taken the back seat. We have, taken behind the scenes for long enough. It is time for you to not be the best kept secret. Please take this year to show God. If you know how to pray, utilize that and pray and be authentic, because the one thing that I truly believe is that the phonies, the fakes, the copycatters, the monkey see, monkey do's, they are going to be exposed. But those of us who are real at what we do, watch how you get pushed forward and watch how others get pushed back. So don't worry about who's doing what you do, who's infiltrating, or who's trying to you put out an idea, you say something, they take it and run with it. Don't even worry about that, because I truly believe that this is the year that those that are authentic and have the tools are being pushed forward. And when you are getting pushed forward, please show out. Because This is now our time. For those who are considered the best kept secrets, for those who are great behind the scenes, trust that you're being pushed forward more and more, and the light is on you now. The light is on us. And so we just got to show them how good God truly is. And it may seem as if you're showing off. Don't be afraid of that. You're just showing how great God is. And I think some of us have been humble enough in being behind the scenes, but how can you be humble enough in showing how good God is?
Yes. So on that note, listeners, listen, the word in Matthew says that let your light shine so that others may see you and glorify him. That's what, it says that they will see you and glorify him.
Glorify him.
You. So she said, stop being the best kept secret, right? You have to show up. You have to show up as the best mom, the best wife, the best speaker, however you feel like God is leading you. Yes, it might be scary. Yes, but he will hold you, and you just have to keep pushing and going. So I thank Lucinda for taking her time. She's traveling, driving, but she's a woman of her word. And she said, Crystal, I'm showing up. I'm showing up a little bit late, but I'm showing up because I believe that, I need to just share this message. So I want to thank you, listeners. Listen, let 2021 just be a year of just showing your light so that they will see Jesus and glorify him in heaven. Thank you for another amazing show. I'll see you next week, Thursday, as usual, for another episode of the Diary of a Jesus Girl podcast, where we discuss real life issues of a committed Christian woman. God bless you.
Diary of a Jesus Girl. Jesus Girl. Hey, it's the Diary of a Jesus Girl.